I met my wife while we were in high school. She was the first girl I ever confessed my feelings to, and I was lucky enough to have them reciprocated. We were pretty much inseparable after this. I only wanted to go through my crappy high school days if she was there with me. Something about her, maybe it was her aura, made me feel so much more peace. I was there for her through her parents' divorce and her mom's untimely death. Her mom had cheated on her father after 27 years of marriage, and my wife believed the amount of remorse and guilt she felt is what caused her to pass away. The divorce and passing of his ex-wife just made my wife's dad even more certain there was a family curse. Despite this troubling time, our relationship and love for each other never faltered. We got married at the ages of 19 and 20. My wife's outlook on life wasn't the best all the time, but she understood that there were ups and downs and that life didn't owe us anything. Despite that, we were happy and capable, remaining strong for each other. We planned to wait at least 5 years before having children, but my wife became pregnant with our first child at the age of 22. She wasn't very happy, and she blamed it on her nervousness to become a mother. I assured her that we could do anything together, and that this was how family life was supposed to happen. In marriage, the children are conceived and the parents work through any obstacles life throws at them. My wife started to believe me and felt more hopeful and strong. Things were blissful up to and after the flawless birth of our daughter. That's when my wife's mind started to change. She didn't see herself in the same way she did before she had a baby. She never acknowledged how much value she put in her physical appearance. Once her belly was wrinkled and saggy, she had a hard time even leaving the house. She was a stay-at-home mom, and always wanted me to do the errands when I was off work. Sometimes I was too exhausted, and I genuinely needed her to go. Whenever this happened, she didn't fight me, she just went and got it done. Dates were non-existent. She wanted to stay at home because she didn't have anything to wear, or any number of extra excuses she had that all pertained to her appearance. I didn't mind dating at home, and we even had her father or my parents watch our daughter for us while we had some time alone. I always told her she was my woman for life, and that I would always love her body unconditionally. That's all anyone can ask for, right? I knew she was my wife for life and I never put any conditions on that, including her appearance. I told her I would spare some money for her to get clothes she liked to wear, but she didn't want to buy clothes at that size. I told her I would work out with her every day, but she always made an excuse as to why she couldn't. She started talking about the family curse her dad believed in. I told her that just wasn't logical, and that she had to be the master of her fate to the best of her ability. My message went unheard until she was involved in a very bad car accident. A car pulled out in front of her, causing her to veer off the road and off an embankment. Her car wrapped a tree and started smoking. When I got to the hospital, she was conscious enough to tell me that someone saved her life. She said a man climbed down seconds after her and pulled her up the steep wall to safety right before her car exploded. I could hardly believe it. I told her that after this, she could say the curse was broken, because she survived. She asked me to ask anyone in the hospital or police force if they knew who that man was. I tried to find out for her, but no one knew. After she was discharged, life at home was almost back to normal. I noticed she wasn't struggling with her self-esteem or overall doubt anymore. She told me she believed that the curse was broken because she survived. I was happy for her and loved this positive change. In hindsight, I did notice a few clues. I found a cigarette butt in our front yard. I asked my wife about it, and she played dumb. She suggested it belonged to the lawn guy. My wife was spending more time on her phone, but doing it at times I wouldn't notice because of being at work, being in the bathroom, being in a different room than her, when she was cooking dinner, or when she was gardening. I never noticed enough to bring it up to her, and the biggest thought I had about it was that she was glad to be alive and was keeping in touch with her relatives and friends. Shortly after I came to this conclusion, I arrived home to find a strange car in the driveway. I could smell burgers and dogs in the backyard. When I got back there, I saw my wife talking to another man while he cooked on the grill. I asked them both what was going on, trying to be nice just in case this wasn't something I needed to be alarmed about. My wife smiled and introduced me to her hero. The man that saved her from the car. My stomach flipped. I didn't feel great about this. I never really wanted my wife to have male friends, especially not one that she felt indebted to. I didn't have any female friends because I refused to give temptation an opportunity. He was a good-looking man, and taller than me by a few inches. No wedding ring. Through awkward chit-chat over dinner in the backyard, I found out he was a firefighter and that before saving my wife, he'd saved 3 dogs and 2 cats from burning buildings. My wife loved that. I felt nauseous. I called it a night and started cleaning up. My wife was disappointed, but let him leave. She was exceptionally quiet for a few days after this. I tried to tell her I didn't want her to be friends with him, because it was unnecessary and just opening the door to temptation. She said I needed to trust her to be a responsible married woman and that she would always keep their conversations PG. I told her I didn't like or want this. We dropped it for a few days, until she sheepishly asked me if she could go out for a drink with App. I told her absolutely not. She was upset and said I was being controlling and that she could have her own friends without me being there. I told her that before all this happened, she never went out anywhere, not even with me, so I asked her what made her suddenly want to go with this man. She didn't have an answer, besides that he was a good friend and she did want to start going out more. I told her we could go out together, and I'd ask her dad to babysit. She made a face. I knew at this point, our marriage was in trouble. She didn't want to go out with me as much as Hero. I told her if she wasn't going out with me, she wasn't going out with him. I suggested she meet other stay-at-home moms so she could meet up with them and get out of the house. She jumped on this opportunity. The next day, she texted me while I was at work, telling me she found a group of moms that meet at the park every Wednesday to do yoga and let the kids play together. When she was supposed to be there, I left work to check. I found a group of moms doing yoga, so she could have been telling the truth, except my wife and daughter weren't with them. I went home and didn't see App's car. I opened the front door quietly. I heard our daughter crying from her room upstairs, and music coming from the finished basement. My heart started pounding. As I got closer to the basement, I heard the unmistakable sounds of passion. My wife's voice mixed with another man's. I walked down the stairs filming. My wife went all out for this. At least 50 tea candles were lit with rose petals scattered all around. They were having sex on the pool table. As soon as my wife turned her head and saw me, she jumped up and started saying no over and over again, realizing she was caught red-handed. She grabbed a blanket and told me I wasn't supposed to be here. App started frantically grabbing his clothes and telling me he didn't want any trouble. I told him he was a crap hero, and he didn't deserve respect from anyone. He was in such a hurry to leave, I didn't have to say anything else to him. I dialed her father as she freaked out, cried, and demanded to know who I was calling. The first thing I told him was that I just walked in on his daughter cheating on me. I put him on speaker while he said he was devastated and he never thought his daughter would do the same thing her mother did to destroy the family and cause so much heartbreak. She turned furious and didn't want to hear it. She tried to grab the phone from me, hanging up on her father, but I ran upstairs with it and locked myself in our daughter's room, picking her up to stop her crying. My wife frantically knocked on the door, tried to open it, and told me to let her in a few times before she started wailing and begging me for my forgiveness. She called me her husband several times, as if that was enough for me to forgive her. She admitted she wasn't thinking about me or our daughter or how much our marriage and family would be affected by her actions. I told her this was hopeless. She wanted me to trust her, but now proved she was a liar and cheater. She told me she knew what she did was a mistake, but she didn't do it out of love for him. She did it because App made her feel better about herself. I told her she shouldn't have needed another man's or anyone's validation. I was her husband, and the only man in her life for a reason. That's what marriage is. You don't rely on anyone but yourself and your spouse for meeting your emotional needs. I told her that emotions ultimately are not important, and don't have to be an uncontrollable force of poor decision-making. She is supposed to make decisions based on what is best for her and her family, not fantasies or selfish desires. She didn't know what to say, so she just cried. When I finally opened the door and told her to leave, she lost her mind. Screaming, telling me I couldn't just kick her out and separate her from our daughter. I told her I was going to file for divorce. She said until she was ordered to leave, she was going to continue living with me and our daughter, even if we slept in different rooms. And so we did that until our day in court. I showed the film of her cheating on me and got out of alimony payments. On top of that, her father's house didn't have enough rooms for our daughter to live, so I won custody. They got visitation, but they are both miserable and bitter to this day. My ex-wife has no one to blame but herself. She's completely lost her identity because of this. She has nothing to call her own and is too depressed to try to get a job or make friends. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Found out fiancé's affair a month before our wedding. She tried to justify it when I caught her. Let me start from the beginning here. Yesterday I met my fiancée at our wedding venue for our 4-month-out meeting to finalize details. We drove to the venue separately because she was leaving straight from work. Towards the end of the meeting she let me know her friend was dropping off her rental car and needed a ride home and asked if it would be okay. I said yes, thinking nothing of it as it wasn't that far from our home and I know her friend well. I get home and tried to get in touch with her for the next 3 hours. No answer. At approximately the 1:30 mark I texted her friend and asked if she had made it to her okay. I was very worried. My fiancé ends up coming home and says sorry it took longer than expected. She hung out with her friend for a bit before leaving. Okay, no biggie, just LMK next time please. Her friend gets back to me a few minutes later and says sorry I couldn't make it to the venue, didn't see your fiancé tonight. I asked her why she would say this and she said she didn't know she can't control what her friend says and walked outside. I'm sketched out AF by this point. I have never done this but I looked at her phone records. Yes I did and don't regret it. I saw that when she went outside she called her friend that had texted me right after she went outside. I also saw an hour-long call with a number I didn't know on the way to the venue. I asked her what rental place they went to and multiple other questions. She had quick answers and they seemed legit. I thought maybe I'm crazy here, I need to chill and sleep on it. This morning I asked her to please see the text from her friend asking her to pick her up and I would apologize for questioning her the previous night. She said no. I said when I caught up to you yesterday on the way to the venue I saw you were on the phone, who was that? She said, "Oh, that's the friend I picked up later on." That's when I knew for a fact she was lying. I said I looked at her phone records and knew that wasn't true. She then changed her story to say, "Oh, I needed to meet up with a coworker to discuss a patient." Who is the coworker and why couldn't you discuss that over the phone? I need to show him the techniques in person. His name is Michael. Okay, I am sketched out beyond belief. At this point we never lie to each other. I asked to see the text with Michael. She said wouldn't let me see. I said, why not if there's nothing to hide? Are you having an affair? Do you not want to be together anymore? She pauses and proceeds to tell me all the things that are wrong with me. I work too much, I don't spend enough time her don't listen. I'm astonished at this point, all of this is news to me. I put two and two together. At this point I know something sketchy is going on. I again asked to see the texts. It took about a half hour of convincing to see these texts and they were crazy. Sexual in nature and talking a lot of sh about me. Also how she wanted to be with him and how they're essentially in love. She started this job 1.5 months ago. He is her coworker. He is also 15 to 20 years older and divorced multiple kids. I have been financially supporting her for the last few months as she got back on her feet and was working extra so she wouldn't have to pick up a part-time job. We own a house which we both live in with 3 dogs and a horse. Sorry for the novel, I am beside myself right now. I did not see this coming and we were going to get married in 4 months. Any advice would help. Update 1. As an update, I was finally able to sit down with her tonight and go over this. Again, she came in trying to blame me for what she did. Trying to justify the cheating and lying as a direct result of my lack of communication and listening. She said she wouldn't have had to start talking to this guy if I had been listening better. I spend too much time in the office working and don't dedicate enough time to her. I tried to explain that I was putting in extra hours to try and support her and the family financially while she was struggling so she wouldn't have to get a part-time job. She said she would have rather gotten a part-time job, which makes no sense to me. She was under the impression that because this was short-lived, 1 week she say, and they only made out once, that we could move past this. When I brought up the texts where she was trashing me and talking sexual with him, she deflected hard and I got nowhere with that. I told her that I'm not the reason that this is happening. She went too far and should have communicated with me or thought about the implications first. That I can never trust her again and this is all because of her actions. Whether she wants to try and justify this as my fault is up to her. At the end of this part it got a bit calmer. I said, listen, we just really need to figure out the house we own jointly and the 3 dogs. We came to the conclusion that either I stay and buy her out or we sell and get new places. The dogs, one of us will get one, the other 2 TBD. So that's where this left off tonight and we'll continue to keep you all posted on progress. Curious what you all would do about the house. Financially I can support it alone, but it is nearly 3,000 square feet and 5 acres of land which was bought solely to have her horse. She is taking the horse when she leaves and boarding it at a barn. Update 2, day 3. I was able to sit and have a 3-hour conversation with her tonight. We talked about our relationship and what led to what occurred. It started with her telling me what I did wrong in our relationship, lack of communication, spending too much time working and on my phone. I don't disagree with any of these things. My mindset behind working so much was support of the family. I run an e-commerce business on the side and I'm a one-man customer service center and deals happen 24 hours a day. I am never not on the clock. I could have certainly been better about setting my phone aside and responding to people the next day. The lack of communication was on both ends, and a prime example of this is the fact that I was unaware she was unhappy with any of this. It was never communicated to me. She said she felt I would have gotten upset if she told me but never gave me the chance to work on it. I am not a perfect person by any means and many times I do or say things that are misinterpreted by her as rude. An example of this is a week or 2 ago I was trying to help her with a budget with her financial problems to try to set up a plan to get her on track. To note, I work in the financial industry and do this for clients all the time. She had mentioned that she owed me maybe $1,000 and she would get that back to me next paycheck. I said something like, I think it's a little bit more than that, let's go through the transfers I have made to our joint account. It ended up being over $5,000. My purpose for doing this was not to make her feel bad but to realize how much I have been contributing. She took this as me trying to humiliate her. Was just trying to help and maybe my timing was off. She told me I have been too focused on money lately but I was only trying to make sure we were going to be okay. We still had quite a bit to pay for the wedding and my budgeting mentality was on overload trying to make sure we had enough. The fact that she keeps trying to justify what she did by attributing that as a direct correlation to my flaws really bothers me. She keeps telling me that she is surprised I would throw away 7 years of a relationship away like this. I keep having to remind her that I didn't throw it away, she did with her actions. She told me that I told too many people too quickly and we could have resolved all of this between us. She also said that she wouldn't have had to talk to someone else if I was a better listener and communicator. I have finally determined the extent of the affair, which I actually believe based on the texts that I read. They began talking 1 to 2 weeks before via text. I don't know if they had met up before outside of work, but this time around he had asked her to the park to play basketball and talk. She met up with him and they ended up making out. I truly believe it didn't go further than this yet. But, it would have in the near future, I am sure. She says he is not her boyfriend. She also took off tonight and I have no idea where she is at, assuming with him or a girlfriend. It is an awkward living situation, but I am hoping this resolves in the near term. I do think she wants me to get back with her and try to repair that. I think that the main issue was a lack of communication that manifested for a long time. We got into a routine, lived our boring simple life, and meanwhile this problem was never discussed and grew over time. She acted out instead of talking to me and also lied to my face / talked a lot of sh about me behind my back. She can be very sneaky and I don't think I can fully trust her again. Obviously this would be the easiest thing to do, but I don't think I would ever be truly happy. Understanding the root cause has helped me feel better. If nothing else, it will allow me to address my personality flaws / communication issues and see things from another perspective. I started hitting the gym today and will keep a routine going. I also plan on picking back up on studying for my CFP designation. I took the week off of work to focus on my mental health. Today I called the wedding venue and officially canceled the date. We were able to get some money back but lost a bit unless the date can be resold to another couple, unlikely. I also spoke with her parents again to keep them apprised. They live far away and I am sure are worried sick. I continue to let them know everything is fine and calm and they don't need to worry about their daughter. I did some research and with interest rates where they are today I will not be able to find a comparable house for the mortgage I pay for this, can barely find an apartment for less nowadays. I think my best option is to try and buy out her share and have her find an apartment. She seems agreeable at this time. We will have an appraiser out to assess value and see what half of the equity would be and if that is doable for me. My questions to you all are, does this change your mind at all about the situation? Am I handling this properly? If not, what should I be doing different? Update 3, it's been nearly a month since this whole situation went down and I owe you all an update. Has been a very busy, emotional and eventful month. So I am not going to lie, the few days after this happened to me I was a pathetic mess groveling to get back with this cheating posse. It's embarrassing to admit, but it happened, and it was all part of the process of moving on. While in this vulnerable state I tried everything I could to do things right, make things better, but nothing worked. I was actually told that she had to make a decision, me or him, and she did the right thing choosing him. I think that's when I woke up and realized I had let my self-worth go down the drain and I needed to take a step back and really focus on me and what was best for me. It is hard after 7 years of doing everything for someone else, to focus on your own needs, but that's exactly what I have been doing since. I moved our joint savings accounts to my individual checking account. I did the math of what was owed to me and transferred half of the balance back to the joint account for her to take. I have been working out every day since this happened. It makes me feel good to not only improve how I look, but helps me continue to think clearly. I've gone suit shopping, for a massage, out with friends and family. Not only was this relationship isolating of my friends and family, which should have been a huge red flag, but I never did anything for myself. Buying clothes is just not something I would do. I was always worried about providing for my sig other and animals. I've been seeing a therapist, for the first time in my life, on a weekly basis. It helps me talk things out in my decision making. It is something I will probably continue to do after this situation resolves, just to continue to improve myself. Now for the bigger items, I am still living in the house with the ex. She is sleeping in the guest bedroom and we are at a point where the only communication is, did you feed the dogs? I think she is a terrible person and no matter what I say, in her mind, this is my fault. To accuse someone of being a bad communicator and then using that as an excuse to then not communicate her feelings to me and cheat is her being a hypocrite and an easy out in her delusional mind. I stopped bothering trying to reason with her because she is unreasonable. I have been keeping the ball rolling with listing the house for sale. I contacted an agent, had them come and was happy with the proposed sale price. She then requests that I contact 2 other agents and get their opinions, one of which was recommended by her friend. Yes, I made all the calls, set up all the appointments and met with these people. This is how the relationship always was, and even though it's not fair, I've been willing to do it all to get the hell out of here. After meeting with all 3, we ended up going with the first agent. Pictures were taken on Sunday and the house was listed for sale Sunday night. Open house next Saturday. Already getting a lot of attention on the resites. She will be taking the horse to a barn somewhere, TBD. I had a conversation about the dogs and offered to take one or none. She said she would take all 3 of them to keep them together. They are a happy bunch and I don't want to fight over taking one if that will break them up. It also selfishly allows me to pursue a clean start. Unexpectedly, I met someone about a week ago that I've been spending quite a bit of time with. I have no false expectations here, but am enjoying hanging out with her. She's been through a similar situation in the past and has been helping me through this. It's really eye-opening speaking with a kind, thoughtful and independent woman. It makes me realize what a narcissist my ex was. Completely self-centered, dependent and manipulative. I should have listened to the warnings from family and friends long ago. I definitely fell into the trap of being in a simple routine. I wasn't enjoying life, it was just an easy situation to be in. Nice house, lots of land, great animals, didn't want to rock the boat. So I just continued on. You don't really realize this until you take a step back and truly reflect. Some might say it was wasted time, but I am really using this as a learning experience. I will not ignore red flags in the future. I will not fall into the simplicity trap. I will continue to maintain relationships with friends and family. I just want to end this with a huge shout out to everyone on here that commented on my original post. I posted on Reddit because I had no idea what to do. Those of you that took the time to try and help a complete stranger on Reddit are amazing. I read every single comment and they all helped me get to where I am now. I am looking forward to the next chapter in my life, wherever it takes me. Thank you all, truly.